And welcome also to our inspirational sessions to help encourage you to find the ways to be healthier, vibrant, feeling wonderful. I'm Michelle Greenwell, and I'm on the leadership team with the association, and we're so excited at all of the projects and opportunities that are coming your way for 2021. Our theme for this year is Wellness is Your Choice. And when you start to think about you have the opportunity to decide what your life is going to be like in your wellness and what kinds of activities you will engage in or not engage in, it definitely changes the dynamics around what's possible and how you can change things. So I chose for today the topic of heart-centered living. We have a wellness webinar that was released yesterday, which has all about the neurolymphatic system. It's a beautiful hug for your body. And Yolanda Kielstra did that beautiful video for us. So you can find that on our YouTube channel. And I will suggest that is one way that you can support yourself in heart-centered living, because it's like giving yourself a hug. It's so beautiful and just really brings vibrancy to your life. But then we have next week, which is where we're going to be doing some work with, it's Mental Health Month. And so working with mental health issues, how to support everyone through their wellness initiatives, and where they might just need a little bit of support. So that webinar happens next Friday, and we're very excited to have Tanya Levy and Paula Nowak who are going to be presenting that. So that's another way that you can be vibrant and support yourself in wellness. And then we have a special members webinar that's happening in February. So we focus February on the heart and about how you have a relationship with yourself for wellness and your self-care. And so I thought I would just talk a little bit about that one, because our presenter for that is Christine Baer. And Christine actually is my professor at Akamai University. And she has really been supporting my doctoral dissertation and some of the projects that I'm working on. She has a book called The Heartfield. And I'm going to share this with you because there's a couple little excerpts in here that I thought might be really helpful for you understanding how easy it is to transform. So I always code my books by turning the corners of the pages. So I'm going to the one that got turned down the biggest. And this I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Heartfield effect. And this is, I'm just going to read a little piece in here. The Heartfield effect demonstrates the connection and synchronization of heartbeats between people when they're in 3 to 5 foot space, kind of as our personal space. Now, with our restrictions and having to keep 6 feet apart, we're not always that close in space. But with the people who are within our bubbles of wellness or within our family network, we will be that close to people. But also if we're helping someone, then we're also in that same position. So when people come together, their heartbeats will synchronize. And this occurs without any form of touch. It's accompanied by significant positive shifts in experienced symptoms of distress of both physical and emotional nature. And this healing effect happens without any touch, technique, or intention at all. It's just being in the present of the person's grounded heart field while they're focusing their attention on the other person. So simple, this technique, right? Just finding the way to be grounded. So what I thought I would do today is, because just by being in the presence can create that kind of effect, wouldn't it be delightful if you were able to practice some of that? So that's finding your breath. So what I'm doing is I'm standing at the moment instead of sitting on my chair. I'm just going to put this down a little bit so you can see my feet. And what I'm going to do is just take them shoulder width apart. And I invite you, if you can, to stand If you can't, you can stay seated in a chair. And if you're watching this from your table or desk, then just do it seated. And what I want you to do is push down into your feet and just feel the ground, and then take a nice deep breath in, and the arms will do a little bit of a float, and then let it go, and it'll come back down. Now this comes from my Tai Chi practice, but it's a wonderful way to ground, to find your way to be focused in your breath and to be centered in the moment. And then to make sure that you've got that energy running straight down through your feet, connecting into the ground. Another deep breath in. Another delightful thing would be to go for a walk and be able to put your feet on the ground. So we have snow melting outside. It's not that I'd want to go barefoot outside, but it is always wonderful when I can just put my feet into the grass or onto the stones that surround the walkways at my house. Okay, so this little piece here allows you to ground and to be present and brings the breath in to what's happening. And if you are connected then to someone else, maybe you have someone at your house that just needs a little bit of extra love. So if you just focus on them and just focus on sending the love, that's it. Now, if they're lucky enough to be present with you, maybe you've had a friend come for tea, or maybe you're involved in an activity with someone else in your house, then what you could do is just connect over that cup of tea, have a conversation. And when you're intently listening to the other person, you are allowing for that whole Heartfield effect to happen, where everything synchronizes and it shifts into a place of balance. It's really simple. So that'll give you one idea of how you can make a difference in your own life, just taking those few moments to stop and be present. Maybe you have trouble doing that because you're on the check off the list kind of thing, get those projects done. That's the kind of person I am. So maybe it takes you having tea with someone else to make you stop, or reaching out and having a conversation with someone that you haven't talked to in a little while, and you actually make the effort to reach out and do that and make that connection. And when you do that, you just want to really be grounded and centered, and you create the opportunity for wellness to actually start to come in and to be able to make that shift. Okay, so let's advance that a little bit more. And I'm just going to move to another part of the book. I wanted to just bring in the big picture, the beating of our hearts creates an electromagnetic field that extends well beyond our physical body. And that's invisible to most, but its impact on every aspect of our lives is very profound. And although its reality is documented and measurable with simple instruments, its existence is unknown to most, yet it defines who we are. So that's the heart field. So if we are, go, then you can have an erratic kind of feel that comes around you, or a scattering that some people may notice, or you feel very harried about what has to get done. But when you focus in on that breath, stop, be present, then you have that opportunity to create calmness and stillness. And other people will recognize that same thing from you, and then they will be able to take that and create it from there. So now I'm going to take you on a little voyage back to Florence Nightingale. And in my therapeutic touch training, we talk a little bit about Florence and her role that she played in the way that nursing came about. And this was back in the 1800s, when she was on the Crimean War. She was on the field and realizing that the army soldiers underneath her were dying because things weren't working the way they needed to. And she realized there were a few aspects that needed to come into their lives in order for them to be able to transform into wellness. So those are things like the nursing personnel washing their hands and making sure they're not spreading the germs and the bacteria. Of course, she didn't know that at the time, that's what it was all called. But also she realized that fresh air was really important, that there'd be clean sheets on the bed, that everything had been cleaned and washed and prepared, that they were exposed to the sunlight, that the sounds around them could be natural sounds or they needed for it to be quiet. There was no opportunity for healing if everything was really busy, and especially if soldiers were coming in and they could hear other soldiers in pain, or they could hear the franticness in somebody's voice of a case that's come in. So it needed to be a quiet atmosphere. So she set about bringing these parameters in, and she called them life lessons. So they're now the way that we've looked at how we deal with wellness and how we deal with our health care. But there was one piece that was really key for me about her work, because they call that the Nightingale theory. But what's really key for me is that the part that was most important was that the person was at the center of the healing process. And so in order to be well, the person had to want to be well. So that had to be there. They wanted to live. In her case, it was life or death. In our everyday world, it is life or death, but we deal with it more of it's an everyday kind of thing. So what she realized was the person was responsible for their wellness, and her job was to make sure the parameters of the environmental pieces would allow for that to come in. I apologize for my phone. So that whole piece brings us back to we are responsible for who we are and what we do. And then as I brought you into that heart-centered effect, right? Just thinking about how when you are centered and focused and there and ready, you impact the next person. You impact the people around you. They impact you. If you're surrounded by people who are centered and positive and supportive, then you know that's going to be coming back as well. In my Tai Chi practice, when we do Tai Chi for ourselves, which is why most people sign up for a class, we learn how to, get the energy to flow, strengthen and stretch the body. But there's this moment in the practice where we're no longer doing Tai Chi for ourselves. We're actually doing it for others. We're doing it for all the other people in the room. We're doing it for all the generations that came before us. And we actually practice that way. And when we shift our focus over, it's the most profound Tai Chi set that can happen. The body opens up in different ways. Movements start to have more strength. There's a different kind of calmness that comes back into the practice. And that is just shifting the focus away from ourselves to others. So in the case of you take the Nightingale theory and you take that the person is the center of their wellness, one, they need to be present. And then the second part is take your compassion to others and reach out and share that centeredness, share that deepness that you have. And in therapeutic touch, that compassion is the instigation of the ability to start to get the energy to flow and for there to be a vitality that comes back into living. Okay, that gives you a lot of information for one time. I just love the bioenergetic wellness work. I love being present in it. I love the tools that happen. And I hope that by doing these Thursday reach outs to you, we're providing you with some great ways to think about how wellness works for you, how you're engaged in your wellness. And there's lots of tools happening for Wellness is Your Choice for our year. And I hope that you'll come and participate with us and get to know more. Maybe take a class. learn some new skills. The tools are very, very simple, but very, very profound. So I wish you the very best for the rest of your day. I offer you joy and gratitude for being here and listening. And I hope that as you go forward, you take a nice deep breath, stay grounded in what you're doing, let the Heartfield effect emanate out and gift you back. All the best. Thank you from Can Be Well.